Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. How's things, guys? Hope you're well. We're one game in. I'd normally like to do this one before the Thursday night game, but I went to the footy, so there was no chance of me doing that. I was on the V line going up to the MCG. So we'll take a look at a few. These were some of the names that came out from my live sesh. Just want to talk a lot about Grundy and the Meek discussion. A bit about, are we too late on guys like Dempsey and Jeremy Sharp? So yeah, we'll touch base on a few of those and a few guys that are, I've mentioned them before, but just a few fellas that are dropping off a bit and could be picked up nicely. And one of those was Clayton Oliver, but gee, he's looking awful. I don't know if it's the fitness base, the hand. He seems to be having a lot of different issues with that hand. He's not cracking in like he used to, but when he moved to half back last night, I was like, where are we at here? Clayton Oliver off half back? Bizarre. So look, I still have faith that Oliver at some stage this year will be pretty close to his best. He probably won't be at his 120 all-time best, but 110, very possible for a back end of the year, not the full year. And I feel like we could have an option of picking him up around 470 or 480. Now, I don't know if I can say no to a Clayton Oliver. If he tons up and he's less than 500, I think I'm all in there. But shout out to the lads who said g'day to me at the footy as well. Always appreciate when you guys come up and say hi. So hope you fellas had a good night at the footy. And I was pretty happy because I was barracking for Brisbane, went with a couple of Brisbane mates, but was hoping for a bit better of a game. The D's didn't fire much of a shot, and Brisbane were bloody impressive. It was a bit of a debacle with you might have seen on my TikTok, my ticketing situation. So I ended up with 2 spare general admission tickets. I couldn't get rid of them for the life of me. So the way it happened, like during the week, Watto was like, hey mate, do you want to come to the footy Thursday night? I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. He's like, oh, I can't get in the general admission. Me, George, we're going. So there's 3 of us. He's like, I can't see the general admission. Like, it wouldn't be sold out. I'm like, nah, no way it'd be sold out. Let me have a look. So I've logged on and I've seen the general admission. So I thought, I'll just buy 3, sort the boys out. Let's go. So I buy the 3 and I'm like, hey mate, got it all sorted. He's like, oh, how many did you buy? I'm like, 3. He's like, oh, we only needed 1 for you because I get with the Brisbane membership, which I did know in hindsight, but at the time didn't think of it. Like a Victorian-based Brisbane member gets like a home ticket, like you can get a free ticket. I don't know exactly the specifics on it because it's not a reserved seat, but you can get free general admission and a guest. So they already had 2 tickets, so here I was with 3 general admission tickets, only needing 1. Not that it breaks the bank, but you're still kind of like, okay, I would have preferred to pay $27 instead of $80 here, but I'll try and get rid of them. So I messaged a bunch of people, put it in groups that I hadn't posted in for years, and put it on my TikTok story. Watto put it on Big Footy, no bites at all. So I'm thinking, all right, I guess I'll run with this. But on the way up, we're sort of like, we should just, better than them going to waste, we should just give them to someone. So I'll roll into the ticketing joint. I said, can you print these off for me? Print the 3 and I'll just give 2 away. They're like, oh, righto. So I'll print the 2 off and I'm thinking, how are you going to do this? You're going to look like a bit of a weirdo just walking up to people and, hey, you want free tickets? Where's the scam in this? But it just so happened, as I was getting these tickets printed off, these 2 blokes go up to the ticket booth next to me and they're Kiwi fellas. They got the accent. They're like, oh, how do we get a ticket? We've never been to the MCG before. Can you get us in? And they were clearly confused. And I think the ticket person didn't really... they weren't coming quite to the party. I think they were, you've got to have this, you've got to have that. And these blokes, I think they were half pissed. They're like, mate, we don't know what we're doing. Like, can you get us a ticket? They had no idea about footy. First time going to a game. So I said, boys, are you after a ticket? They're like, yeah, mate, yeah, how do you do it? I'm like, have these 2, bro. There were just 2 of them, and they were over the moon. So, boys, there's probably very long odds you're watching this video, but if you are, I hope you had a ripper time. I told them to barrack for the Cats. I said, barrack for the Lions tonight, but if you're picking a team, barrack for the Cats, mate. Geelong, Sunday, get around them. But, so yeah, that was pretty funny. Shorty was down 50-odd bucks, but I feel like I, made their night. So that's a bit of fun. I think they would have enjoyed that. They were all about it. They're like, this is corporate, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, you're a funny bastard, mate. I enjoy. And then saw some of my students. So it was all happening. It was quite an interesting night. But let's talk some SuperCoach, shall we? Let's talk some SuperCoach. And let's have a look at the teams first. Not that there was a heck of a lot of relevance from the teams from memory. Sean Darcy didn't come back, so that's helpful for Jackson owners. Caleb Daniel getting dropped. I mean, I don't know. I would pick him up as a Cats man. I'd pick him up and throw him on that halfback flank in a heartbeat. But Bevo hates him at the moment. Windhager coming back might help a select few. Walsh comes back, so watch this space. Hopefully he can start somewhat slow and we can pick him up at a nice price. I don't know why that doesn't say anything there. No changes for both. Or is that just not showing it because... Yeah, okay, mustn't have any changes for either. Fair enough. Nothing too much. Wines might help a few coming back. I reckon the Cats might play a couple of younger guys. I know O'Sullivan's debuting, which will be exciting. A few names I never really heard of in the Roos inclusions there. And I don't know if I'm crazy, but I reckon the Eagles are half a chance against the Tigers, but not enough for me to tip them. But yeah, so there's the teams. And I did have the VC on Jackson, on Gawn. I had the VC on Gawn, which I was very happy about. So pretty stoked to take the 138 there. We'll take that every day of the week. But the main talking point is definitely Brody Grundy and Lloyd Meek. Now, a lot of people were saying Grundy out, Meek in. And I'm worried. So I did a TikTok about it. Now, first things first, Brody Grundy hasn't started the season on fire, anything like that. But it's not that bad. 139, 71, 99, 114, 93. Okay, he's only had one really big ton, and we didn't even get to enjoy it because it didn't count towards our score. But other than that, he's only gone under 90 once. He's averaging 103. Now, I'm not saying that he's a top 2 ruck, but I think it's too early to trade him. I know he's got the buy, but break even of 83, like... I'd probably have Marshall and English and Gawn all in front of him, but I don't think it's by a long way. Like, I don't think he's leaking points. I still feel like he'll average 110 by season's end. And I just wanted to compare, because I think sometimes we get a bit absorbed in the here and now about wanting our premiums to just go nuts immediately. And it's not always the case. And I just wanted to show you Max Gawn. And last year, you know, he would have averaged 110 if it wasn't for this 0. But... yes, he was sharing the ruck with Grundy, but look at his start. 140, 98, 80, 130, 94, 74. So he wasn't exactly going bonkers. Now, that might be because he was sharing the ruck load. I'll give you that one. But I think Rowan Marshall, who is a clear number 1 ruck last year and one of our favourites, he averaged 114. Look at his start to the year. So I'm just saying, let's not panic. 80, 129, 78, 96, 123, 88. And then he goes nuts. So I'm not saying Grundy's going to come out and average 114, but I think it's too early to pull the trigger on him. I understand the hype around Lloyd Meek. I really like him. I enjoyed his work at the Dockers when he did get that sole ruck time. 2022, averaged nice numbers. And sole ruck at the moment, he's looking good. Don't get me wrong. So, Ned Reeves, first emergency, just beware. Hawthorn historically do like to share the ruck. So there's 2 ways this pans out, right? Lloyd Meek, you trade him in, you get 150k from that trade. He plays really well. He keeps averaging nice numbers, works his way up to 500k. And then you're able to, in essence, make 300k from the full transaction. And you can just nicely pick off Tim English has fallen, or Rowan Marshall, or something like that. Perfect. Maybe even gets to 520. I don't know. But I've seen mid-price rucks tear us apart so many times. So that's the good scenario. The bad scenario is that in the next week or two, Reeves comes back in. Witts dominates Meek this week. They think, we better share things up. He's still relatively inexperienced. Let's get Reevesy in. All of a sudden, Meek's scoring 64. And all of a sudden, you left yourself with a bloke who's sharing the ruck. He's only gone up to about 410, 415. And now his break-even's 96. And you're left with a guy. Yes, he'll still make money. He will. Off this break-even, he'll make a fair bit of cash. But you don't want to be left with a mid-price ruck who's floating around 420, 440, and you can't reach any of these other rucks. It's different taking a risk in the midfield because there's normally a rookie or there's normally a mid-pricer who's hit some form that you can sideways to, or you can a nice exit strategy. There's not as many options in the ruck. There's minimal rookies playing, next to none. And then the premiums, we're probably wanting to pick from 2 or 3. I was on a bit of a roll there. I got cut off. I don't know how much got cut off, but I think I've done that twice in 2 videos now. But basically all I was saying was there's 2 universes, there's 2 scenarios where in 2-3 weeks' time, you could be saying, surely this worked the dream. What were you talking about? And that could definitely happen. But there is also an outcome where we get an absolute nightmare of a result and Meek becomes a huge headache for us. So I'm happy to play elsewhere. It's not to necessarily say that's a shocker of a decision. I could understand if you were saying, look, I don't know if Grundy's a top 2 ruck. I want to go with English or Marshall alongside Gawn. I understand that. But the Meek strategy, I don't know. I'm happy to play around that one. So good luck to you if you do go that way. But Horn Francis was discussed a bit. It's a no from me. If he was a chance to get dual position, yep, understandable. But from what I'm hearing, that's a no. If you're hearing otherwise, let me know. But I don't believe so. Jackson, hold him. At least his coverage for Grundy. Plus, no Darcy. So let's just wait and see. And I sort of think with Darcy and Jackson, like last year when they shared the ruck, Jackson averaged 88. I think Jackson's a better player to last year, even marginally. So I can still see them sharing the ruck and him averaging 91 or 92 anyway. And that's going to be enough. I don't think with the lack of options we have in the forward line, I don't see any need to trade him out. And let's look, if they share the ruck and he does start to really struggle, then let's trade him out. But let's not get ahead of the curve. People talking about trading out Nick Dacos, come on. I mean, I know the break-even's poor, but this is what I hate about the 40 trades. We start trading out guys like Dacos and people asking about LDU, and it's like, geez, these guys are premiums. Like, okay, there's a slight minor form slump, a below par game or two, but come on. I mean, this is the issue with too many trades. There's no world where we should be saying, oh, I'll trade out Dacos and get him back in. Like, a trade should be worth much more than that. Dacos should be just you ride the highs and lows and you keep him all year. Yes, you'll probably be able to pick him up cheaper at another stage, but I mean, you don't want to have too many times where you're like, oh, I'll just get him in 3 weeks. Then he scores 160 and it's out of your range, or you get a couple of injuries and you got to deal with those, and then you miss Dacos, and it's far simpler to just keep the champions, and Dacos is a champion, even if he's a slight bit off form. I think in terms of captaincy and that, like, I went Gawn, but clearly Bontempelli's the play for tonight, or even Zach Merritt, and I think Tom Green, even though he let me down last week, is still a good option to finish with, but I'm sure you guys will be able to make a nice decision there. Christian Petrarca as well, keep him on the radar. I mean, he's a guy that's going to drop a lot after his 59 last night. And look, some other guys, and these maybe aren't the names that are on fire at the moment, clearly, but I still think they're premiums and will serve us well at a really, really good price. Jordan Dawson, Luke Davies-Uniacke, Jack Sinclair, he's not cheap as chips, but, fairly good for him. He's around 570. You got James Sicily. I think if he can start to build back to some better form, and maybe some structural stuff for Hawthorn can help him over the next month or two. And then you've also got Darcy Parish, who isn't the high on my radar, but certainly a watch, because you can't pick everyone up for 650k. You can't always end your side with Bont, Butters, Green, Petrarca, Merritt. You can't have them all. Sometimes, somewhere along the line, you're going to have to pick up a bloke who can average 110 at 520k. So I think these are guys to just keep in mind. Clayton Oliver, we're going to need to see a fair bit more from him, but he'll be certainly very cheap. So yeah, just people to keep in mind. And Jeremy Sharp, Ollie Dempsey, a lot of people asking, is it too late to pick them up? I don't think so. Like, there is that part where it just doesn't feel as good. You've missed a few price rises and the stubbornness in us goes, nah, I'm not getting them. I missed the boat. But I still think, particularly for Jeremy Sharp, like, you look at I think sometimes we've just got to strip away the, he's at Fremantle now, isn't he? You've got to strip away that ego and be like, okay, I did miss him at 123k, but if I was offered a guy at 255 with a negative 51 break even, I would take that every day of the week. It's just the fact that we've already missed 2 or 120k kind of hurts a bit. So I've gone a triple downgrade this week, which I put out my trades on the TikTok and YouTube Shorts. But yeah, I've gone down to set me up to bring in LDU, Jordan Dawson and Jack Sinclair over the next probably fortnight. I've gone down Howes to Closey, Bramble to Sharp, who was it? Jordan to Comben. So I think, Jordan's definitely a get out of my team. Matt Roberts was spoken about a bit. He's a hold for mine. He's got a break even of 14 and he's scoring 80 plus every week. So he's got a lot more money to make. I wouldn't trade on him. But look, you can still bring in these guys because they can still make us over 100k potentially, particularly if he keeps that sort of form up. But yeah, I just wanted to touch on those guys. Otherwise, I don't think there was too much else. But yeah, hopefully you got to all your questions over the live session. If ever you're wondering something, some of these questions get asked a lot, you can always rewatch them live as well, because we do often go similar train of questions throughout the time. So yeah, that were my thoughts on the round ahead. Good luck to you. Hopefully have a good week and yeah, enjoy the footy. I'm off to a reasonable start with Maxi gone in the VC. So hopefully we're back on Sunday night with a move up the ranks. I'll talk to you later. Cheers.